The Adventures of Julia and Doug. Do-do-do. Oh my gosh, he did it!
Because it makes you so happy.
He never does anything like that.
Yay!
Yay! Oh my gosh,
Right.
you just made my life so
Do
much
we
better.
have a story for you today?
We sure do. I'm Julia.
And this is Doug.
And this is The Adventures of Julia and Doug. We are a couple of crazy kids who decided to pack up our stuff.
Our life.
Yep. And move from suburban house to living on the road.
Full time.
Full time.
It's a lot of driving.
It was a lot of driving. So, we filmed a bunch and then we realized that we wanted to make that season 2. So we switched stuff around.
Yeah.
And we did season 1, episode 1 a little bit ago. Hopefully you've had a chance to see or hear that. But basically, we have a lot of good stuff for you guys.
If you saw episode 1, and I would suggest to watch that.
Or listen.
Or listen.
Yeah.
Because I left a teaser in there. And if we kind of go back to it really quick, remember that tire that I talked about that was losing a little bit of pressure? And then we had somebody fill up the pressure, and then they had to fix the little cord, the little needle inside the stem, the valve stem.
Yes.
Well,
So season 1, episode 1 was all about all the mistakes that we made, all the things that went wrong on our very first trip. And so that's what Doug's talking about. And again, if you haven't had a chance to go watch or listen to that, go do it. It's hilarious comedy of errors on our first RV trip.
Pictures, videos, everything included. It's pretty fun to listen to.
Yes, absolutely. So this, excuse me. So yes, Doug said we've got a really good one.
Yeah, so after that trip
for you here
is what we kind of got used to the RV and what we needed and didn't want and things like that to get ready for our 6-month trip. And the 6-month trip we started in May of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And then throughout that, so we'll just you want to jump into the story?
Yeah, so we decided for season 1 we wanted to talk about just kind of our best stories, right? Like the most fun we had, the craziest things that happened.
Exploits.
Because we had so many amazing adventures. Right. We wanted to really focus on the adventures.
The fun part.
Yeah. And
the memories.
Yes. And so this is one of our this is like the trip, the story from the trip. The story from the trip. Yes. 6 months in the RV, this is like the story. So if you're going to watch anything, listen to anything, this is the one. So we were in Minnesota.
I think we had just left Welcome, Minnesota, which is in the middle of nowhere.
And it's really cute.
It's really cute.
Yeah.
I ended up barbecuing in a thunderstorm, but past that. So we ended up going to, I don't even remember the name of the campground.
No. We were in Minnesota and we were going to a campground. And so obviously if you're living on the road for 6 months, you have to have income. So we are business owners. We own businesses that run, of course, online, because if you're traveling for 6 months, you need to have a way to run your business.
Right.
Remotely. So as we were going to this place, Doug had noticed that
the rear tire, one of the rear tires. So we have dualies in the back, which is a pair of tires on each side. So there's 4 tires on the same axle. Yeah. So one of the inside tires on the passenger side in the back of the RV kept losing pressure.
And that was the one
That's the exact same one that we had. That the guy broke the little core thing inside the valve stem. So I assumed it was just the valve stem was leaking. So I called ahead to where we were going because we were planning on being there for a few days. And so I called ahead and found a repair shop that would take a look at it.
7 minutes away from the campground.
Yeah, so really close. I was like, great. What we'll do is we'll just kind of drop in there. We'll get the valve stem changed. And then we'll continue on to the RV place.
Yeah, I think you couldn't get the appointment for the day we checked in. I think it was for the next day.
I think it was the first day because it was just going to be a quick stop.
Yeah,
valve
quick
stem,
stop.
no problem.
Fix
Pull
the
the tire
valve.
off, replace the valve stem, put it back on, hunky dory, everything's cool.
Yeah.
So we get there, and he pulls the tires off, and he starts so first of all I check the valve stem, puts the bubble soap on there, and nothing. So he's thinking, all right. So he thinks maybe there's a leak in the tire. So he pulls the tire off, and then again does the bubble test all the way around. Nothing. We're sitting in the
waiting room, thinking
room.
it's going to be like
yeah,
10
it's real
minutes.
quick. And even if it was the tires, are great. Just slap a new tire. Cool. So then after a while, I kind of wandered back there and started talking to the guy.
And there was no reception. This is why I brought up, like there was so little reception. It was so slow because I was trying to like run the business and trying to look for things online, and it was like terrible.
Yeah. So
he sneaks back there.
I sneak back
starts
there,
talking
to the guy, and he said, "It's not your tire. It looks like the rim. The rim itself is cracked." Okay, that's a whole different
weird
story.
Weird.
Yeah. So immediately we start calling around. So I told him, "So great, find me a new rim.
Yeah.
Not a problem."
Yeah. So we thought, well, it's just a rim. You've got to have one here, right? No. And then, well, where can we find one? And so, you know, he's calling places. So I've got limited reception. I think we finally ended up getting on their Wi-Fi at the dealer place. And so he's on the phone pacing back and forth. I'm looking around like everywhere and looking at where can we pick one up? Where are these things? And then he finds out that it's been discontinued.
So I think we did go to the RV place first, because this is what took up the day when we were supposed to go.
Correct.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I wasn't gonna correct you on camera.
Okay.
Maybe a little.
Ah.
I'm always right.
Yep.
Always right. So yes, what I was starting to say was our campground had zero reception.
She's correct.
There was no cell reception, no
Wi-Fi.
Verizon.
I have Verizon. She has AT&T. We specifically picked two carriers to go around the United States.
The best carriers.
Yeah, to go around the United States, so we at least have reception at least one of them everywhere we went.
Yeah. So this campground, nothing.
Nothing.
The RV repair shop, barely anything, and then we finally got on Wi-Fi. So yeah, so we had checked into the RV place, spent a night there, and then we unhooked and brought the RV to the repair place the next day.
We had figured that because the RV or the campground had kayak trips, which was great. They actually rented kayaks there at the RV place.
Yeah, so that was, I think
fun.
that was actually one of the reasons why you decided to stop there.
I think so.
We had been, so Doug had picked this campground because we had been kayaking once ever, and it was with some friends of ours in Wisconsin, and
great time.
We got into the kayaks and we ate and we drank and we floated for 4 hours.
4 hours with a bunch of friends, and it was great.
And we paddled every once in a while, and then we got out. It was fabulous.
Yeah.
Let's
do it again.
Let's do it again. And so the idea was that next day we were going to, because I followed him in the car.
Right.
So
we were going to drop off the RV.
Drop the RV. We hung around just to make sure that everything was good to go, and then I was going to drive us back in the Jeep.
We were going to jump in a kayak and have a great time.
Yeah.
And then so they drive you about 16 miles upriver.
Well, so there was an option. You could do an 8 mile trip that would take about 2 hours, or a 16-mile trip that would take about 4 hours. And we're like, oh, we were on the water 4 hours before. Super great. Yeah, we'll be on there all day.
And then so they drive you upriver, and then the river goes right past the RV place. You get out of the kayak at the RV camp. It's great. Perfect.
So we were going to do that, drop off the RV, make sure everything was good, drop off the RV, and then go back and kayak.
Right.
But then this kind of threw a wrench in it because it wasn't this quick fix that we thought that we were going to have.
Yeah, so we find out the rim is cracked now.
Yeah.
So I told them, I said, go ahead and find us a rim, and we'll get it replaced. And the whole time I'm thinking, okay, hopefully this will be quick, so we can get back to the RV place and just take a...
we'll do the afternoon kayak.
We'll do the afternoon kayak.
Late morning.
Should be no problem.
Yeah.
So he starts calling around and can't find one. Can't find one.
And you're calling around.
And so then at that point, I started calling around.
Yeah.
And from Minnesota, Minnesota. We start expanding the range, how far out we're going to find a rim.
And so we learned online. They stopped making these rims. They're no longer in production. They're impossible to find.
Right.
It's the wrong size and the wrong depth and all this stuff. And so finally, he decides to call the place that manufactures the chassis.
The chassis itself. Which is down in Alabama.
I don't know what a chassis is, but it's important, and you can get rims.
So they're the ones that actually made the chassis and the rims for this RV. So I call them. They're down in Alabama, and the guy goes, "Yeah, we don't have that exact size, but I have one that's about 3/4 of an inch bigger. Should work fine."
Should work fine.
Awesome. Send me one overnight. So they will ship that. So I found one, and probably about 4 or 5 hours have already passed. So the day is shot.
We'd been in there for so long, and we were really looking forward to kayaking. But we had another full day at this RV park. So we said, okay, they're going to overnight it, and it will be fine.
So we'll bring the RV back. We'll sleep in it. The next morning, we'll bring it back to the shop.
The next day we'll go kayaking, and then the following morning we would take it on our way out of town. So we had a full 24 hours between that moment, or more than 24 hours between that moment and when we were going to take it back. So if we overnight it, let's say this was a Wednesday. We'll call it Wednesday that all this happened. They'll overnight it. It'll get there Thursday. Right. Friday morning we check out of the RV place,
so we'll
swing through.
Get it replaced. No problem.
Easy peasy.
Totally easy.
Breezy.
Yep.
Beautiful.
So we go kayaking.
Yes. So the next morning we're like, okay, we're like stressed out about this tire thing, but we got this. So they said, you want to do the 8 hour, I keep saying 8 hour, the 8 mile or 16 mile.
16 miles.
16 miles.
Sure.
You want to be on the river for 4 hours. Absolutely. Right. Well, take your time. If you take longer, then that's fine. Oh, okay, great.
Because we're the only two.
We're the only two. It's not like a tour. They just drive us up to the place.
Right. Drop us off. And then the river goes doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, and there's a big sign that says, like, get back to the campground, get out of the river. That's it. Yep.
That's it. Perfect. So
we make our lunch, we grab drinks.
So this whole time, outside of RV repair shop, no service. The RV camp has no Wi-Fi, and so I've been seriously struggling. And so as we're driving the 16 miles along the river bank, I finally get like a spot of coverage. I'm like, ooh, a spot of coverage. And I'm like, Facebook, Instagram, schedule posts, and then it will like crash. And I'm like, okay. And then I'm like watching. I got a bar, and basically how you would expect someone obsessed with their phone to be, but I'm not. It's just our livelihood.
Yeah.
And
it's how we work.
It's how we work. So finally I put it away. I said, fine. There's no reception in this place.
And we're just gonna take the day off.
All the commercials we see on AT&T and Verizon, they're liars, and we will just move on. So we get down into the river. We've made ourselves some breakfast and some lunch and some drinks, and we've got hats and sunscreen, and we are ready to go.
Great time.
We get on the river and we start floating along, and everything's good. And at that time, for our Facebook group for our business, I throughout the trip, or at that time, I was going live every day at, I believe it was 9:30 Pacific.
Something like that.
So in Minnesota, that would have been 10:30, probably
11:30.
10:30 or 11:30.
Something like that.
I don't know what the time zones are. Anyway, so I couldn't go live because I'm on the river, and so I decided to film a little video.
Just record something and we'll post it later.
Yeah, exactly. I'll post it when we have a chance. So we'll make sure to put it in here. But basically, I was like, "Hey guys, we're at the river. We're so cute." He's in the background waving. The kayak. And so.
And here's the video.
Yes. Cut to video. Hey ladies, what's up? It's 9:30 and I'm supposed to be going live. There's the Doug. But we have no reception still. Yay!
And we're on a river.
The Root River. The Root River in Minnesota. Now,
if you could talk and say, I am Root.
I am. Why don't you go live with me more often? I don't know. Anywho, yes, we're on the Root River in Minnesota, and we're kayaking along.
So you could see from that super awesome video, apparently.
Pretty nice. It was fun out there.
It was gorgeous weather, having a great time. And so we are just cruising. We're not paddling very hard, if at all. We're just kind of floating down.
Couple drinks, couple
snacks, just watching the wildlife.
Yeah,
There's eagles.
Early afternoon.
There's some things.
Yeah,
fishes.
Eagles, yeah, and turtles.
Yeah, turtles. And so it's beautiful. It's just wildlife all along you.
So
and
you get the river, and then the banks kind of go straight up on both sides. So there's nowhere to get out. And
right, it's kind of like a flume ride. It's like Splash Mountain.
It's like rocks over here, and then mud and trees over here. And then besides, if you did get out, you're probably in somebody's farm or something. I don't even know where we were.
Right.
So
there were a couple places where we saw
overpasses.
like fields and stuff, but like this is pretty remote.
Very remote.
Yeah. And so so all of a sudden we're floating down. It's been probably an hour, I'd say, about an hour on the river, and we hear this
way off in the distance
thunder. Now, we're from California, so summer storms are not a thing that I knew existed prior to this road trip. In the summer, it is hot, it is dry, and it is hot and dry. And there's no such thing as summer rain.
No.
There's no such thing as thunderstorms.
Right.
Nothing. But it was a very wet spring and summer when we started this trip.
Yeah.
So as we were going along, it was raining constantly. And so we by that point, which it was probably it was late June.
It was late June.
Yeah. So at that point, we had kind of gotten used to these summer spring storms that they would
come in and just douse and then leave.
Yeah, they'd
very tropical like.
Rain for 5 minutes and then they'd be gone. Okay. So we heard thunder off in the distance and we're like, and so we turn around
and the clouds of Mordor are behind us.
You know that scene in Independence Day where the alien ship first starts coming in,
the clouds are rolling in,
and it's all black? It was that.
That's what it looked like.
And we were like,
"Uh-oh,
the aliens are coming to get us."
And then some more thunder, and this black line. I mean, distinct
it's
line
just
of clouds
coming at us,
and
closer.
I thought, okay,
closer,
well, maybe
closer.
it's passing by us or whatever. So
we start paddling.
A little bit. Because we're not even halfway. Because when he dropped us off, the guy said, "Oh, you'll know you're halfway when you see the old abandoned power mill."
Yes, the old abandoned mill will be on the right-hand side.
Haven't seen it yet.
And it'll be about 2 hours in. Well, so that was about, at that point, at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half in. And we hadn't seen the mill yet. Yeah. And so we're like, okay, well, we need to start paddling.
Well, and then, so, remember we said no service?
Oh, yeah.
All of a sudden, my phone rings.
So weird.
What?
In the middle of nowhere, there's no service.
I pick up the phone and he goes, "Hey, it's the guy over here at the repair shop." Guess what? They sent the wrong one.
Our rims have 8 spokes, and they sent one for a 10-spoke tire, and you can't fit 8 spokes into 10 holes. Doesn't work.
So that adds to the stress level when we're sitting on a river with the clouds of Mordor behind us.
Yes.
So I get on the phone, and while I have reception, I call the guy down in Alabama, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. We'll get you the one you need. Overnight it again." So.
Yeah, and so we noted about the time of the call was about noonish, 12:30, somewhere in there.
So we knew the part had been there by,
So we figured, okay, overnight, right? The part gets there about 12-ish.
Yeah.
So checkout's at 11 or noon tomorrow, so that should be fine. We might have a little bit of a delay, but
Yeah, the rim should show up on our way out, and we'll get it swapped, and then we're out.
Yes, no big deal. Should be super fast.
Totally cool. Stress levels back down. We got the right ones on the way.
Okay.
Be no problem the next morning on our checkout. Cool.
So we finally get like relief, and then we hear thunder again. The clouds are over us, and we see
then all of a sudden, bing,
ding, ding, ding.
little tiny raindrops. Uh-oh.
Start paddling.
So
So we start paddling, and we're not paddling fast, but we're paddling steadily. We're like, okay, we haven't been paddling yet, and we haven't come across the mill, but we're not quite at the halfway time mark. So we should be fine. It hasn't been quite 2 hours, so we should still be on track. Okay, so paddling.
And lightning's starting to go up. I'm starting to see lightning now.
Yes, flashes of light.
The whole sky lights up.
The thunder is getting louder. It's just booming.
The rain is getting harder.
Yes.
I've got a hat on.
I thought it was hilarious.
It's hitting my hat so hard, it's going through my hat. I can feel the rain come through.
I thought it was hilarious. I'm like, this is so awesome because what a great story this is going to be. Just this little summer storm, and we're in our little kayaks, and
I'm picturing two skeletons smoking, laying in kayaks, drifting down the river because we got hit by lightning. That's what I'm picturing.
And he is getting stressed out, and I'm like, it's okay. And then it just
we're thinking it's a summer storm. It's gonna be over in just a few minutes.
Right.
10 minutes, 20 minutes.
It just keeps getting worse and worse.
It got
and
harder.
It's cold rain.
It's cold rain with a breeze.
Super cold. Yeah. So the temperature dropped. Yeah. It was cold rain. It was breezy. And so I'm still laughing about it. We've got video of that too. I videotaped it twice. Tell us what's going on. It is pouring, and Doug's getting bronchitis and pneumonias from all the rain.
You wanted to pull over, so I said, let's pull over and just kind of wait this thing out a little bit underneath the tree.
Yeah, it's only going to be 5 minutes. We'll just hide under this tree for a minute while the storm goes away. And so we're like, as he said before, there's we're in this flume, right? This flume, right? And so there's cliffs, like rock cliffs, and like mud.
Yeah.
And there's no. There's nothing. So we found better shelter.
You need to hold on to me.
I'm holding on to you. It's not better. Oh my gosh, look how hard it's raining. He is trying to attach his paddle into the rocks to try to hang on because the river's trying to pull us, and I'm holding on to him and I'm filming because I think it's hilarious. And he's getting mad and it just got
okay,
worse.
Screw this, we just start paddling really hard, and then we'll take a
break.
We
just gotta go, and so we would paddle, get under a tree, paddle, get under a tree, and lightning's gonna strike the tree and we're gonna die from branches falling, or it's gonna hit the water and we're gonna explode.
We've got aluminum paddles and just
so either way we're gonna die. It's fine.
So we're going and probably at least another 45 minutes to an hour.
Our arms are exhausted.
Shoulders.
So now we're about 2.5.
Still haven't seen the halfway mark.
2.5 to 3 hours in, and we haven't reached the old mill.
And the phone rings again.
Yeah, so random. What? The phone rings, and we're like, "What is happening?"
She
and
goes,
we're drenched.
Should I answer it? And it's like, yeah, answer it.
Yeah, we're just drenched. We're exhausted because we've been doing this for a full hour. We're trying to go as fast as we can.
So she answers my phone.
Yes, I answer his phone, and she goes, "Is this Doug and Julia?" Yeah. "Oh my gosh, I've been trying to reach you." "Well, you live here. You should know there's no reception." And she goes, "Are you guys okay?" This is the front desk lady from.
She's like, "Are you still on the river?
Are you still on the river?" Yes. Of course we're still on the river. There's nowhere else for us to go.
And then she goes, "Where are you?"
"Where are you?"
"We're on the river."
"We've never been here before." "I've never been to Minnesota before. I've never been on this river before. I have no idea where we are." And so she says, "Okay, well, there's only 2 places on the river to get out.
There's one overpass.
There's one overpass and our RV campground. Have you passed the overpass yet?" And we're like, "Nope. We haven't even gotten to the old mill yet." And she was like, "Okay."
So she's like, "I sent my son down there about an hour ago. He's waiting for you at the overpass."
An hour ago. Her son is sitting in the car for an hour at the overpass.
So we kick it into high gear and just...
So now we're burning extra calories. We're so tired, but we're like, we got to get out of here. And the rain is not letting up. It's not...
We were bailing out the kayaks because there was so much water in the rain.
We did. We had to start shoveling water.
Took a break from paddling and bail, and then paddled and then bail.
Yeah, because we're just, ankle deep in water in the kayak.
So tired. I came around one corner because I was ahead of you for a little bit, And then finally, I saw
the old mill.
Yeah. So that gave us a
After,
burst of energy.
Yes, but that was like
Oh
over 3 hours
my gosh.
in. So now we're like, yay, the halfway mark of our 4-hour trip we reached at 3.5 hours or so.
So we keep paddling, and then finally
The overpass
came around another corner,
somewhere.
and there's the overpass.
Oh my gosh.
Again, another burst of energy, and we got down there.
But it's still pouring at this
It's
point.
still raining.
It's been pouring now for 2 hours, at least 2.5 hours.
Straight.
Pouring rain.
Yeah.
Summer rain.
The thunder and lightning's let up a little bit.
Yeah, but it is.
So as we passed under overpass, I saw the back of the car up there. So I was like, there he is.
So he jumps out. I grab both kayaks so they don't go away. He runs up to the car. And by the way to get out of the river is to climb up an embankment this steep,
embankment of rocks,
full of rocks, like boulders, not little pebbles, like boulders. And we've just been sitting in a kayak.
So legs don't work.
I think overall we've been on the river for 4 hours.
How about that?
Maybe even longer. 4 to 5 hours we've been sitting there, and our muscles. You tense your leg muscles up when you're doing this because you're using every muscle in your body to push against the water. And so we're trying to climb up these rocks, and our muscles are
So
shaking.
he comes. Yeah. So I run up there and get him. Finally, he comes down and helps us pull those out because they're full of water. So we finally, after probably about a half an hour, get both kayaks up there, all of our stuff. We jump into the Bronco, and he's got the heater going, and we're just in front of the heater.
Cold. We're frozen. Frozen
So
solid.
he puts the kayaks on top,
Yeah.
ties it all down.
He goes, we're driving, and he goes, do you want me to drop you off at your RV? And we're like, yes, we do. We don't want to walk ever again, especially not in this rain. So we drive, and he drops us off at the RV.
And we turn on the heater. We start making some soup.
We turn on
shivering.
He can't even stand still.
So I jump in the shower. She's making soup.
So he's in a hot shower. I'm making soup. I've got tea kettles going, heaters going. I've got blankets and towels. We threw our clothes off as fast as we could, and I'm just in a towel and towel and robe and blanket. And just
over the heater vent,
shaking, and it was horrendous.
So then we finally warm up. Just said, okay, heck of a day. We're just going to bed, and then I wake up. I hear a little bit of thunder later in the evening.
Middle of the night. He's a light sleeper.
I can
sleep through World War III. I probably will.
And I was like, oh, cool. I like lightning, and now I'm inside, so it's cool. So I look out the window, and it's just flash, flash, flash. Flash, flash, flash. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And about 10 minutes into it, it hasn't lit up. So finally I wake her up. And I was like, you got to check this out.
And I'm like, if you know me at all, you know I love my sleep.
And it was like some kid playing with a light switch. Just flick, 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 flick. It was on and off for like the next 2 to 3 hours of just straight lightning. It was insane. And it was pouring. Yeah. And it was crazy. And we tried to take video of it, but the camera wouldn't pick it up.
Yeah, the camera doesn't pick up lightning and night sky. You guys know if you're trying to use a phone for night.
So finally we went back to bed. And the next morning we wake up. It's checkout day.
Yeah, it's checkup day. And so we're like hooking up our car, and we need to go to the RV repair shop. And we're looking around, and everything is wet.
Oh, soaked.
Everything is wet. And now, mind you, to get to this RV campsite, we had to go down a hill like this for a while,
and which went alongside of a river. Followed a river a little bit.
Followed the river, and then so when it got to our part of the campground, it flattened out. But then there was another part that went down lower that was right on the river's edge, and then the river was right there.
And that's where you get out of the kayak.
And that's where the tent camping is.
Yeah.
And so we're checking out and talking to the person, and they go, "Yeah, we had to." Late at night, help evacuate the tent campers because the river was overflowing into their tents. Yep. And in the lower level and across the way in another RV campsite, there
was RVs.
RVs were getting flooded out,
like up to their doors.
Yeah,
in the water.
like above their tires going into
because
their
there had
RV.
been so much rain. So as we're driving towards the repair shop, the river is probably 10, 15 feet higher than it was the day previously, and that's what caused the flooding.
Rushing. Like big tree branches, you're watching tree branches and all this stuff just float, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we were on that river. Like that could have been us floating down that river as smoking skeletons.
Yeah. So we finally make it to the repair shop, And so it's probably like noon now. Yeah, okay, great. The part should be here.
Part should be here.
Pretty soon.
It was like
So
noon or 12:30.
We'll wait a little bit. The rain, it's not raining anymore. But
No.
so we're waiting around. It's 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock and
we've
3 o'clock.
Got to get to our next destination,
Which is a good 3 or 4 hour drive.
and we don't want to drive in the dark into places we don't know.
So finally, it was about 4:15 when the FedEx truck showed up. Finally,
well, you had been calling them.
I'd been calling them. He
and
said,
they were
"Yeah,
like,
it's out for
on the
delivery."
way. It's on the way.
So a little after 4, the guy finally shows up and was like, "Where have you been?" He's like, "All the roads are flooded." He had detours all over the place, which delayed him.
All the roads were flooded. So now we've waited an extra 4 hours
Yeah.
to get the part, not to get it fixed, to get the part.
Yeah.
So they ended up staying a little late to get us fixed because they were going to close at 5.
So they finally, so they pulled both tires off, and so he puts the rim on, and then so remember it was the inside tire, so he puts that on, tightens the outside one. He's like, "That's not going to work." What? He said
The 3/4 of an inch,
it makes the tire rub on the inside.
too much.
So he takes them both off again, swaps them, and because the rims are different, so he had to put the rim on the outside. So then he puts the other one on the inside, and then puts the new rim on the outside, and then tightens it, and that works. Whew, dodged a bullet.
So crazy.
So by that time, it's like right on 5, just after 5.
Yeah, it was after 5.
And those guys were great.
They
and
were
for
awesome.
all of that, they charged us $45.
They were amazing the whole time.
I think I hugged them.
Yeah, yeah. And we will definitely make sure that we tell you guys the name of the place, which we should have been prepared for here. But we'll
if I can find it, I'll definitely
put it here or something because
those guys were great.
They're awesome. And so if you're ever in whatever town we were in Minnesota, Kayak Rivertown, Minnesota, you should go there because they were fantastic.
They were fabulous.
Yeah.
But so that's our kayak story. We didn't get on the road till almost 5:30 that evening.
It was so crazy.
We should have been out of there by noon.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And we kept eating at the bowling alley because that was the closest place to eat. We're like, where's there to eat? Oh, let's go to the bowling alley.
So,
Which they were really nice there too.
Yeah, they were really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that is the
epic kayak story.
The biggest adventure of the adventures of Julia and Doug. I hope you enjoyed it. Not every one of our episodes will be this epic or this long.
We can laugh about it now, but yeah.
Yeah. I was laughing at it when
I was not laughing at
when we were at the river. He was not laughing.
Right.
So, please, we would love it if you let us know you were here with a comment or a like. You can subscribe to our channel here or follow us on any of our platforms, social media places, Facebook, Instagram, etc. We'd love to have you follow along our adventures. We will be selling our home and continuing our adventures for longer than 6 months. Yes, we will be moving on the road full time. So there are many more adventures to come. And we would love for you to come along with us on the adventures of Julia and Doug. Do-do-do.
Yay.
Yay.
Thanks for watching.
You love the
or
theme.
listening.
You love the theme song. It's your favorite
I
part.
do.
He does. He loves it. The Real, Season 1, Episode 2. I need to turn the volume off of my computer. The Adventures of Julia without Doug. Do-do-do. Ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding.
Okay. Okay, so this is The Real Season 1, Episode 2.
Yes.
Season 1, Episode 2.